In this episode today, I'm going to share 3 essential tips that will help you and your spouse as new parents. All 3 of these tips are about the holidays because the holidays are coming up at the time of recording this. And for me and my family, the holidays, to put simply, were different with the newborn than we thought they were going to be. So without further ado, let's get into the 3 tips that I have for you today. Tip number 1 is holiday expectations. And I wanted to include this because, especially as number 1, because my expectations for what the holidays were going to be like were completely different than the reality of what they actually ended up being like. So that's why this is number 1. But it's probably happening to you in your life just like it did to me, that people are like, oh my God, the holidays this year, they're going to be the best you've ever had. They're going to be amazing. I'm so excited for you guys. And that got me pretty amped up, but it also helped fuel my false expectations of what the holidays were going to be like, especially if you're people like my wife and I that we really enjoyed the holidays and hanging out with people and having the parties and doing all that. So if that's how you and your spouse are, these expectation shifts will definitely help you out. So bullet point number 1 for this first tip is that you have a ton on your plate at the holidays. Even if you don't think it, it's like you're expected to bring gifts places. You're expected to bring food places. You have to show up at this time and leave to go to the next place at this time. You have a lot on your plate. And with a newborn, the most important thing I can say, which is one of my false expectations, is that they're too young to enjoy 99% of the things that happen at the holidays. Whether it's getting a Christmas tree, putting cookies out for Santa, decorating the Christmas tree, whatever you and your family does around the holidays, Thanksgiving, newborns and up until, 2 years old, these kids are too young to truly enjoy half of the things that you're doing. So my first idea for you or suggestion that I wish I had done is just cut back on the things that you want to do, right? My wife and I, we used to cut down our Christmas tree every year or most years, and we thought we were going to do it with a 6-month-old. That was an improper or false expectation that we had. We ended up getting it from somewhere else, and there's a whole story to go along with that, and it ended up being a great time. But we should have realized that from the beginning of no, that's just not going to work. That's not going to be fun for us. And that's, I think, the biggest thing is think about it in terms of will this thing that we're going to do actually be fun and actually be enjoyable? Because when you think about all the details, you can kind of get a sense of that might not be what's best for these holidays. So that's bullet point number 1 for tip number 1. Just, you have a lot going on. The kids are too young to enjoy most of it. So figure out a few things that you want to do. We all got matching pajamas and we have a photo in that. That was enough. We didn't need to do a million other things. The second part of this, especially if you're going to someone else's house, is that I had the expectation that I was going to go to these holidays with my family, with my kid, with my wife, and it was going to be very similar to what I had experienced in the past. That couldn't be further from the truth. I spent most of my time trying to make sure my son had everything he needed, had his diaper change, had his food, had his drink, whatever. And there is so much that you don't realize. Yes, people are going to pass your baby around so you get time for yourself to eat and stuff like that. But I don't think, at least I didn't realize how much time would be spent if you're at a place for 3 hours. An hour and a half of that is just, where's the bottle? Where's the food? Where's the diaper? Where's the wipes? Where's the this? Where is the kid? I need to find him because he probably needs a diaper change. And so a lot of your time is spent taking care of them. So just have that expectation going into the holidays, because I didn't realize I'm not going to be able to sit on the couch and have a drink and just chit chat with the people I haven't seen for a year. It's nope, you're still on dad duty, still on mom duty. And if you have this expectation that, yes, I'm not going to be able to engage with these people as much. My focus is this baby. And the other part of that is like, I like to have drinks at the holidays, but with a newborn, it wasn't having drinks because you're taking care of this baby and your only job is to get this baby to and from this holiday safely. So there's no drinks involved. And I think that was the other thing is I couldn't tell you when I was at a family holiday sober the last time before having a child, if you know what I'm saying. So that's the second bullet point that I wanted to share with you about just trying to change your expectations, or these are just ideas for you to think about so that your expectations can be more in line with what reality is probably going to be like. This next one is truly something that still bothers me to this day, and I had to put it in here because in my mind, I was going to get to spend a ton of time with my wife and my son at the holidays. You will not get to, especially if you're like me, you're not going to get to spend the time that you think you're going to spend with your child during the holidays if you are going to other people's houses or if you're having people at your house, right? Like my idea of Christmas Eve would have been just like chilling with my baby, hanging out with my wife, watching some holiday movies and opening gifts or doing whatever. But I always feel like on holidays, whether it's Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, it's like I don't get to spend the time that I was expecting I would be able to spend with my kid. And so that's just something that like I'm still working through. I tell my wife after holidays, I'm like, I don't want to do that next year. I didn't get to hang out with him or you at all. I just want to sit at home and do this and get to spend the entire day with you guys. But so just keep that in mind. It's like the holidays, look at them as the holidays are for your family to go and mix with your other family. It's not truly for your immediate family. Just that's really the point that I want to make clear here. And then the last bullet point for tip number 1 in terms of changing your holiday expectations. And if you've been around children before, this may not be true for you, but I'm never had babies in my life. So when we'd go to holidays, there'd be a crying baby or crazy kids running around. And my wife and I would get in the car after I'd be like, holy crap. Like, thank God we're out of there. That was insane. And that relaxation, like immediate when you get in the car, just know that that's not going to be there because it's going to be a long day for everybody. And that little baby that you bring all over the place on a holiday, they're probably not going to be so happy once they're in the car, and hopefully they'll fall asleep. But I was thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my God, this is what everyone else has been going through for years. Everybody that has kids, they've been going through this like, oh, they leave the holidays and then the car ride home is still a crazy, fun, but exhausting experience. And my wife's like, yes, it's being a parent. So I just didn't realize that. And maybe you have way more clear expectations than I did, but those are really the main things. Is just you have a lot on your plate. Your kid's young. They're not old enough to enjoy 99% of the stuff. Most of your time is going to be spent taking care of them. So just keep that in mind in terms of like, you're not going to get the time with the other people that you typically do. And then the next one was you're not going to spend the time with your child at the holidays that you think you're going to. Like I always think that I'm going to spend a lot of time with them, and then it's like he's with this person, with that person. I'm getting stuff for him or my wife, and it's like I don't get to enjoy that. And then the ride home is just like you no longer have that immediate release of stress from the holidays when you get in the car because your job is to get that baby home and safe, and they're not always the happiest. So that's tip number 1 in terms of holiday expectations. So let's get into tip number 2. I just wanted to jump in here and remind you to download the monthly check-in activity. You can complete it as an individual or as a couple, but either way, it will help you and your family slow down, reconnect, and start living a life that you actually enjoy. It covers the things that you want to get done, the experiences you'd like to have, the important things that you'd like to celebrate, and it helps you create better relationships with extended family and friends. So if that is something that you want in your life, go to strivingsatisfied.com/monthly check-in to download it now. Let's get back to the episode. Tip number 2 is holiday gifts. So I had to include this one. If you take nothing else from this episode, please try this out with your family at least. It's pretty fun and it's life-changing. You don't end up with a bunch of stuff. So what is going to happen if it's not already happening? People are going to be asking you what you want for Christmas, what your spouse wants, what you want for the new baby. Ask for experiences, meaning whatever you and your family, you and your spouse are like, we want to do this with our newborn. We want to try this. We want to go on a date and do this and have somebody take care of our baby so that we have some alone time. Ask for experiences. And the second part of that is that my wife and I just started doing this year, so I'm still like working out the details of how it all works, but it's pretty simple. We're doing this for other families as well. So instead of buying their kids, if they have 3 kids, instead of buying all their kids some toy, we're buying one gift for the family that's an experience. And all we do is listen to what they talk about throughout the year. Oh, we'd love to try this with them. We'd love to go to this place with them. Or we love going to this place with our kids. It's such a great place. And we've just started buying gift cards for those families. And some of the things are too expensive to pay for everybody, but we get a gift card towards it. And some of the other things we pay so that they have full admission to it. But either way, the entire point of tip number 2 in holiday gifts is that start asking for experiences rather than specific physical presents. And then you don't end up with all the junk. Your kid won't play with the thing for 3 days and then leave it somewhere and lose it. And it will truly add some adventure back into your life, because being a new parent is not easy. And if you have the ability to ask people, yeah, I would love this experience. I'd love a gift card to the Boston Aquarium or wherever you live near. This will definitely be a game changer in terms of how your holiday experience is, because instead of all this junk, you're like, we get to do all these things. That's tip number 2. And I just want to also say, use this for any holiday or anything where you and your family get gifts. So anniversaries, birthdays, graduations, Christmas, whatever situation you're in where you get gifts, ask for experiences or gift cards towards those experiences. Tip number 3. This is a good one, and I can't wait for this episode to be clipped all over YouTube and TikTok, because I'm going to get a bunch of 60-year-old parents, grandparents telling me how I'm wrong and I shouldn't be teaching their children this, but you're adults and this is extremely important. So tip number 3 is holiday boundaries. And where I'm coming from on this is that my parents are divorced and so are my wife's. So there's 4 families to figure stuff out with. That's the foundation of this. But even if your parents or your spouse's parents are not divorced, this is an essential thing that you should do the first year having a newborn, because it will make the expectations from the rest of your family like aligned with this, meaning they'll expect it from you the following years if you do it the first time. But once you get into dragging your kid around to all these places or doing all these things and being certain places at certain times, that's what they'll expect from you. So tip number 3 is holiday boundaries. The number 1 holiday boundary, in my opinion, that is helpful and practical is, rather than trying to figure out when these people are doing this, when they're doing that, when Uncle Kevin will be at Aunt Susie's house, do what works for you and your family. So in terms of my life, and as an example, is like, let's say you have 4 places to go on a certain day. Figure out what schedule would work for you and your family and your baby and their nap schedule and their feeding schedule and all of that. And just tell people, hey, I know you're doing something at noon. I'll be there at 10, and I'm probably going to leave by 11:30. It's that simple, and they are not going to like it. This is why I'm saying that a bunch of 60, 70-year-old people are going to complain to me on social media about this, but it's like, do what works best for you and your family. And that's what we've started doing. It's like, hey, I don't care what time you're eating. I don't care what time you're doing a Yankee swap. I don't care what time you're doing gifts. This is what time we'll be there. And we're staying until about this time. We might leave early. We might stay a little longer, but that's on us to decide. So that's tip number 3. Just stick to your own schedule. Don't worry about when certain people are going to be at certain places. This is about you and your family and doing what's best for all of you. Before I go, I just want to remind you to go download my monthly check-in activity that helps you and your family slow down, reconnect, and start living a life that you truly enjoy. It's completely free. It takes less than 30 minutes to complete. Just go to strivingsatisfied.com/monthly check-in to get it now.